Hi everybody, my name is Caleb Lystrup and I'm the inventor of the School Supply Torpedo. As you can see, this torpedo is made completely out of school supplies. Its fuselage is an Expo marker. I did this so that we could add torpedoes to the SeaPerch and have a lot of fun with it. So you should make it. Today I'm going to show you how to turn an Expo marker like this into a torpedo like this. Get a good view of it. So this torpedo here was proven to shoot underwater successfully for about 7 feet without even really dropping much in its angle. In other words, it can go a lot farther than that. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. What we're going to do is we're going to first take the Expo marker here and we are going to pull it apart, take everything out of it, the ink packet inside. We're going to rip out the I guess the tip of the marker, and we're going to saw some holes or some slits in the back. We're going to make some fins, and we're going to eventually turn it into a torpedo. And now the crazy thing about this is that it is completely made out of school supplies. This marker here is made entirely out of school supplies, and it works like a torpedo. So that's what we'll be doing today. Hey, what are you doing snooping around? Huh? Over here. Huh? Yeah. This way. Right here. So for this first part, we are going to take these needle nose pliers and we're going to pull apart this marker. The first thing we're going to do is take out the felt tip. Alright, so let's do this thing. First, we pull off the cap, obviously, and then with the needle nose pliers, you want to grab the felt tip and kind of twist it out. This piece is kind of long and there might still be a little bit of ink left in it from when you yeah, there we go. This one still has a lot of ink. So you're going to want to actually grab something to put it on so you don't get everything messy. Okay, so now we've taken out the felt tip. Now you go to the other side and there's a plug, like an end cap plug thing that kind of holds it holds everything inside. And what you do to pull that out, you need to take the needle nose pliers and grab one of these little notches. See that? And just pop it out. If your pliers are terrible, then you want to grab a different pair, like I have here. Now what you do is grab these notches. It can be a little tricky, so make sure nobody's standing around when you pull it apart. You don't want to punch them. Alright, there we go. See how I pop this out? And in here is the ink tube. It's like it's a packet that contains all the ink for the Expo marker. You want to dispose of these two. And we've officially gutted our Expo marker. Okay, so what we're going to do first, well, what we're going to do now, not first, is we're going to take the Expo marker. Alright, so it looks kind of like this. And we're going to cut about 2 inches up the shaft using a bandsaw. And that way we can make a slot that we can fit our fins in, because as you know, it's going to be shooting that direction. So we're going to want to have the tail fins kind of back here on the marker. That's good. What you want to do, if you choose to use a bandsaw like I have, is you want to line up the Expo marker in such a way that this bandsaw will cut directly through the middle. Now I'm doing a 2-fin design, so no matter how I orient this Expo marker, as long as it's lined up with the blade, it will cut straight through, so that the slits on the top and on the bottom are along the center of the shaft. Okay, so I'm going to turn it on and make those cuts. Now you have to be careful when you do this. Make sure that you don't get your fingers anywhere near the blade. If you have to sacrifice an Expo marker, so be it. It's better than losing a finger. Here we go.
Now what we're going to do is trace a circle onto the eraser using the smaller end of the cap. This will help us to make the nose of the torpedo. After we do that, we will cut out the circle and make a cylinder, and then we will file that into a dome shape that will later be squeezed into the cap.
As you do this, be sure to keep the height of this piece of eraser. That's very important. The reason why I chose this eraser here is because of its thickness. It's actually thicker than your standard pink pearl eraser. And you want that because you want to have the tip as long as you can get it. So now, I'm just going to file this. It takes a little while, but I'm going to grind it down and make it into a rounded tip. So remember that eraser that we started to file down? Well, this is what it looks like now. You can see that it's still got its flat side. That's where we drew the original circle. And then on the other side, you can see that it just comes to a curved point. It's a tiny bit flat on the top, and I might want to round that out later, to give it some better aerodynamics. But for now, this will do just great. What you want to do is squeeze this piece into this cap. Okay, it's going to fit like that.
Now this part can be kind of tricky because sometimes your eraser will be a little too big and you want to file it down just enough so that it can make a tight fit. But if you squeeze it down too much, it'll just pop right out. So you want it to fit in nicely. That may require a couple attempts first. It looks like this one is gonna be okay. And then you kind of press it in. Give it a little push and twist it a little bit. And if you like what you see, then you can call it good. Looks like we have made the tip.
After you use the bandsaw, you'll notice little pieces of plastic develop on one side, so you're going to want to have to cut those off. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to take this X-Acto knife and just kind of trim those little plastic pieces off. So I'm going to set this camera down. Hopefully you can get a good view of this. And with the knife, I'm just going to gently trim off these little
see I've changed clothes. Anyway, we're going to transform this marker, which is the hollowed one, see we hollowed this out earlier today, into this. And this is the prototype, the torpedo prototype that I found to be most effective. Let's take a quick look at it. Alright, so we're going to make it. Before we can get it to look like that though, we need to fill this thing with clay. So, what I'm using is Rose Art modeling clay. It does not dissolve in water, so it works just great. Just take 2 colors. I mean, you don't really, it doesn't matter really what you take as long as it's clay. And you want to knead it, mash it up until it's nice and soft. This part can be kind of fun. Oh yeah. You know, take a little nibble. I'm just kidding. Don't eat it. And then you roll it into a nice tube. Now, as I said, we're going to be filling this Expo marker with clay. So the way that I do that is I fill up one tube and I just slide it in to the Expo marker. You can kind of see it down here at the end getting filled in. It's okay if it doesn't fill the bottom in completely, because you want the front of your torpedo, this part will be the front, to weigh more than the back. You want it to be a little bit denser anyway. And then you shear that off. And now we have filled the marker with clay. That's it's a really important step. Alright. Now it looks like I have a little too much in here, so I'm just going to dig that out. Because I need to make room for this cap so that I can plug it back in. Dig up just enough. There's a little hair. It's probably long. It's not mine. Alright. And now, okay, that's not going to fit, so we need to dig a little more out. The basic idea is that we want this torpedo to weigh more than the water around it, or way more than the water it displaces. So we want it to be overall more dense than the water. That will help it to travel. And if you make it too heavy, then it will sink. So you have to find the right balance. I'm just filling them completely up because I'm making this model just like this one here. Okay? And then you put the plug back in, and if you want to, you can just kind of lean on the table a little bit and squeeze it back. Alright, let's see if that's good. Yeah, there we go. And now we have filled the marker with clay. This cap here that we made earlier, this is the cap that, remember how I ground down the eraser? This part is going to be the front of the torpedo. It's going to look like that, with the fins coming out the back. See that? So, it's important to fill this part, the little cavities inside the cap, with clay as well. We want to do whatever we can to move the center of mass up to the front of this torpedo. So I'm just going to make little strips or little tubes of clay and just kind of tuck those in here like that. Do a couple more. Okay, if you need to, you can use your pliers again to kind of stuff it in. And then you roll some more out. And stuff it. This is kind of fun too because, you know, you'd never really think about making a torpedo out of school supplies. But that's one of the awesome parts about engineering. There really is no limit to what you can do or what you can use to accomplish your goal. Especially when your goal is just to have a lot of fun. let's see, let's just kind of fill that in. Now I'm just going to finish stuffing this. Alright, it's pretty much full. Now I'm just going to kind of clean off the excess, just using my fingers and running them along the outside of the cap. And then I'll use this to kind of scrape it off. I'm doing this because I want it to be nice and full, but also I don't want it to come out of the sides. I guess I could have put a little bit more in here. I'll go ahead and do that. Squeeze some into these openings in the back of the Expo marker. It really is ridiculous how much clay you can fit into an Expo marker. Okay. Now I'm going to plug this back in. It's kind of a squeeze. That's okay. Oh, I thought I cracked it. Yeah, you have to be kind of careful with these Expo markers because they have cracked on me before. I'm actually going to just take out a little bit more because I don't want that to happen. Hopefully that will give it just enough space. Alright. Now, we just fill that in, and there you have it. Now, cameraman, can you hold out your hand? Does that feel heavier than a normal Expo marker?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make the fins. The way I did that is I took just, a sturdy folder that I bought at Smith's, and I really just cut the fins straight out of that. So first, you want to sketch out what you want your fins to look like. I've been doing this for a while, so I kind of know what I want the fins to look like, and especially I want them to look like this. You're going to make the fins out of one piece of plastic, one big triangle, and then you're going to slide it into the back of the Expo marker, into the clay. The clay will hold it in place, and then at the end we'll put some tape here on the bottom to just seal it. So let's go ahead and draw out a triangle. Now you'll want to measure these by hand. You don't want to measure these by hand. You'll want to use a ruler to do this because it's a lot more accurate to measure it out with a ruler. But I'm just going to kind of eyeball it for now, just so you can get a good idea of how these are made. Alright, then once you have that done, I'm going to go ahead and rip out some of this paper and put it underneath so I don't cut the table. And it also helps me to see the line that I made on the plastic. You see this red line? That's kind of where we're going to cut to make this fin. If we need to shrink it later, we can. We can just change the size. So grab your X-Acto knife. Now be careful when you're using these, they're super sharp. And cut out the fin. Let's see. There we have it. Looks like it worked. Let's just flip this around to see if the dimensions are symmetrical. And it looks like they are. Looks like it's pretty symmetrical. Alright, so we are pretty much done. We just have to do one more thing. So take the triangular fin that we just cut out and insert it, point forward into the back of the Expo marker. And the clay is going to hold it in place so it can, you know, kind of like, yeah, it does that. The clay will hold it in place, but just to be sure, we're going to use some tape to hold the two parts of the Expo marker together, the two little points. Now, some people would argue that this is not a school supply, but I'm here to tell you it is. Alrighty. Teeth make great scissors when you don't have a pair of scissors around, but don't tell your moms. And then you grab the tape and tightly wrap it around the back until you feel like you've wrapped it enough, and then you have your School Supply Torpedo. When you want to load it in the cannon, you'll have to like bend these fins a little bit. That's what I did on the model that actually worked the best, the prototype that I chose as my final prototype. So I'm going to kind of round these up a bit, give you a quick demonstration on my friend Daphne. I don't think she knows. So here we have the cannon that I used to test all these torpedoes. I'm not going to tell you how to make this just yet. That's it's coming. Anyway, load this thing in. And you pick your target. And I can't shoot it that close. Here we go. I'll just shoot it into the kitchen. Watching? Now imagine this underwater. Ready? I think I just broke your clock. Okay, we're done.